And so how do you fix it?
That's a big question. It's a big question. I think it's a multifaceted problem. There's no one solution. As with every big system, we're using humans. Humans are very complex creatures. I think if I were to sum it down, fixing it comes down to the idea of individuality and how can we individualize learning. And I think recently with the stem of all these e-platforms and things like ChatGPT and Google even, we've been able to individualize learning a lot, where we see actually schools becoming better than they were 50 years ago. We're learning so much more, so much quicker, and yet there still is an issue, but it's improving, and it's because we're able to individualize this learning.
Do you think there's a piece missing, or do you think we have all the pieces necessary to like make education better, but we just need to rearrange them?
That's a good question. I think we should change our thinking, not from do we have everything to fix this problem, but more to the system itself. Okay. has these issues. And yes, we have these ability to solve a lot of these issues. I think the problem is, how can we... Give me a second. Sorry.
I want to clarify.
Yeah.
I don't mean in the sense of like, do we have all the like subjects or like teachers or something necessary to teach at the proper level or in the proper way? I mean, like, do we have the current tools necessary to do it, or should we start changing education in hopes that we will get something later on, like Google, that betters education?
I think it's an ever-evolving problem.
Okay.
So you have these things that you can fix, and through fixing these things, you're going to come up with more problems. Yeah. And I think 100 years down the line, there are going to be problems with education, and there's going to be people who are solving those problems. I think the key now is to make education better than it was yesterday. And as crazy as it sounds, it's never going to be perfect. It's never going to be as good as everyone wants it. There are going to be losers and winners. I hate to use those terms, but there are going to be losers and winners. But I think the key is to just evolve this into how can we make it better than yesterday.
Do you think education is going to be mostly AI-based at some point?
That's a good question. I don't think I'm enough versed in the AI to be able to answer that question.
Sure.
I think if I were to just give you an answer based off of what I've experienced, I think it's going to be a tool, the same way we use Google, the same way we use books and all these things. It's going to be used as a tool to learn. And I think it's going to change the way we learn just based on the fact that we have this tool. But it's not going to change learning in its entirety because that's a human-based thing. And I don't think we can ever take something like AI or technology and inherently change education just because it's a human-based endeavor.
I mean, if I have just any evidence to the contrary, I have stopped going to most of my lectures, and I learn almost exclusively from the internet and ChatGPT now.
And how are your grades, buddy?
My grades are basically as good as I want them to. I get A's or B's.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I've found that to be pretty useful, and it just makes you think, like, where AI is now with all of its flaws, when it becomes much better than it is now. Sorry, not to make the conversation about this, but I just feel like it's going to become a really important part of education.
That is a very personal thing to you. So, like...
That's true, but I feel like...
I could do that.
Yeah, I just don't know. Like, if you had a chat bot that could answer any question a professor could, and maybe you guys think that won't be a thing, I don't know why you would need professors necessarily.
I think the difference between AI and a professor is the same way we don't like to go to a cashier and order from an AI. I think there's a certain human connection that you get, which inherently does increase learning outcomes because you have this person with experience and this overall back motivation determining their life. And your ability to take that from somebody is something you can't take from AI.
I would also say, like, I think that the idea of the human connection is even more prominent in the lower grades. Imagine,
Yes, that's true.
I mean, kindergarten with an AI.
Certainly.
That's a dystopia. Like that doesn't work.
I agree.
Maybe,
I mean, it's shown in dystopian sort of
yeah. Like
movies.
I mean, maybe you could say, okay, like in college and very higher level things, like where people have already matured, they've grown. Like, sure, I can at least see more the utility of AI in that case, but anything like up until like at least like puberty, anything to that, like that has to be a human teacher.
If I could shift your mindset about this a little bit,
Sure.
I agree with this. I think there's a deeper reason to it.
Okay.
What we know through just studies, what studies have shown, I guess, is your key ages for learning and developing as a person is in those ages from like kindergarten to 4th grade is the key age range where you learn that dictates most of your success in life is how much you learn, what you get, what you gauge from it, the environment you're in, all at that age determines your outcomes in 50 years more than us now.
Wow.
And I think what you see here is the fact that just because it is so important, these early stages of our childhoods, that we see how important this is and how changed you can be from things like AI. And we're seeing the negative side effects of AI in our learning. These things like the lack of human connection, which does encourage learning. And we see that and we say, hey, we can't have it in these early stages because kids are really like easy to shift here. We're very pliable, right? I think the same goes for us now, except that we're less pliable. We're more static. So it's harder to see those changes that we get from AI, if that makes sense.
Interesting.
Well, I also think, like, yeah, I agree with you. Even now, maybe it works for Liam, but I would just be sad if I didn't go to lectures, didn't interact with people in classes, like I really enjoy like hearing from the professors. I just don't think I would be as engaged at all in a chat bot setting. Of course, that totally depends person to person, but me personally, like, I don't want that. You know?
Well, like it's also like going to class to see your friends that you
there's a
have
social
in
aspect.
class.
I have like most of my friends are not in my classes, so I have like my schedule is
Well,
I sleep through my
if you don't-
classes and then I do some work in the afternoon, go to the gym and stuff with friends, and then I'll hang out with friends that night, and then I stay
Yeah.
up late doing homework, and then I sleep through my
So
class
Liam,
the next day.
your friends aren't in your classes, so you don't go to class to make friends.
Well, that's,
Yeah, no, I
think
get
we
it.
found the root
I know
of it.
people in all my
Yeah.
classes, but
Yeah.
that's not.
So, what were you gonna say?
Yeah, I was gonna add a little bit to this where I think there is a community aspect to learning, and what I
certainly.
love about this conversation that we've had so far is the research that has been done for the past 20 years has gotten to these exact questions that we're asking, where we're having these questions of how's your social aspect encourage learning? We have these questions like, how does technology affect your learning? How does AI, what is the human impact on learning? All these questions that we're asking is what we've been researching for the past 20 years as a society. And I appreciate the fact that we can see that. And we can see almost what a good education system looks like. We just don't have the data to provide what we should actually do with it.